All right, Kevin, this is for Thursday already. Really? Thursday, April 4th. Wow, fast week. Anyway, I'm going to jump into gold here real quick. So, you know, we've got this formation at 1311 half. That's the channel structure that goes back, to last August. We sold, sorry, we bought that put below it. We remained bearish below it. We also have an intermediate resistance area at 1301 even. I'm just curious if we settle above it today, do we want to liquidate that put and then reattack it up at 311 half? It's just an idea, but we could also just hang tight up to 311 half. In any event, holding below 311 half should yield this lower area here in the 1260s over the coming weeks. And if we close today below 1287 half, that would be good for us and our position. But once again, closing above 1301 even should yield several days recovery into the 1311, 1312 area. Okay. Other position, we've got the live cattle spread. I'm going to jump into that right now. We did test it and closed nicely below it today. Would like to see a new low settlement below 290. That should continue this progression downward to the 1.80 target within a few weeks. Right now we're 3 to 5 weeks. If we close above 342 half, you know that this market then continues into the upper fours within a week or two, and even the mid fives perhaps as we continue toward May and into May trade. So there's that. Crude. Let's take a look at crude. There we are. 62.46 last. Close a little negative on the day means nothing really at this point in time. Um, you could listen to my audio and look at the newsletter, but the 63.26 is yesterday's 63.08. I believe that was the number. And so that is a level that, if settled above on Thursday, should spark, kind of an accelerated up move. And that would also indicate a likely settlement for the week itself above that 62.37 long-term resistance area. But until then, we hang tight. And it would be nice to see us close below yesterday's low of 62.05. That would look nice on the chart. We could then get a break down to this channel structure here in the 57 handle, say by the end of next week. But there we have it. I think there's not much more to say here. Um, I'm going to jump into, I'm just going to open up some newsletters, I think, as we continue, we'll say with the livestock. I will open this up right now, bring it over onto this screen. And there you have 87.55 in hindsight. And if you listen to my audio, I'm basically now saying bullish above 92.27 with a settlement tomorrow for the week itself above it. Bullish like into summer trade, and really not bearish on this particular contract until we settle below 87.55. So this is one big fat range of support now. And in fact, 97.82 is the move high from a couple of weeks ago. We could double top there today, but if we settle above it, 102.42, the next stop, likely realized by the end of next week. And then overall, holding above this wide area, 87.55 to 92.27, should yield, 108 even. That is this gap here over the coming weeks, and quite possibly this 133.37 area as we continue into summer trade. So that's all in effect. And this chart is not updated, we are now above 92.27. Now, let me take a look at the high settlement for that week. Not that it means a whole lot, but 95.45. So that's similar to, yeah, if we close above 95.45, we're at 94.82. We close above 95.45 on Friday. That's a secondary sign of strength, actually. Okay, so let's bear with me here. I'm going to get out of lean hogs. We'll go into feeder cattle. You're familiar with this, that 148.17 level. Page 2, we're below it now. If we close clearly below it on Friday, then 141.82 expected within a couple of weeks, and that 138.97 by the end of April perhaps. That once again is a descending channel structure and trend line off these lows, so a couple things come together there. So it can contain selling through spring, 138.97, but we're not there yet. We need to close the week tomorrow below 148.17. Until then, closing above 148.17 does maintain, technical buy signal. You can see how that would be considered mere slippage on that last bar. Um, a mere slippage to the downside. And then if we close above it, there's no reason to fade what could be a, kind of a recovery and continuation up into April, May, and even June. So there's that. Um, Feeder cattle. Um, I've got both June and AUG could test support here soon. I'm showing the speed line at 118.77. It's not labeled, but there it is. We tested it today. It held, but we also closed down on the day. And I just think this market wants to test 117.65. We could test it today, and if so, it can absorb selling through into June expiration. And once tested, the 124.10 area attainable again within 3 to 5 weeks, possibly higher as we continue toward June expiration. On the other hand, closing today below 117.65 maintains a heavy dynamic through April, then expecting 111.92 within 3 to 5 weeks. So 117.65, big pivot point. Now, upside today, if this market happens to rally and close above 120.47, and let me show you that. It's really a simple structure, but I think it would work for cattle. Come on. Come on. All right, let's open up another chart here. It's nothing more than this. Any speed lines and stuff coming off this top against this low, it's just too steep. It's invalid, but this would be a valid buy signal. 120.47 settlement above. We should then push back into the 124 handle within 2 to 3 weeks at the most, which is our big resistance area on the June contract. You're familiar with that channel top. All too familiar with that channel top. We looked at it today. Let's move on to live cattle here. Once again, same thing, 114.60. And once again, if you look at the 117.10 is my upward pivot point. So if we settle above 117.10 today, the market has indicated, I think, a good April low, or at least into later April, then expecting 120.80 or so, where that long-term channel top is that held this contract's highs a couple weeks ago. And holding below 117.10 though, this 114.60 remains in play over the next several days, 3 to 5 days. Same as the June, can bottom out, say, through April through May, and once tested, the market inclined to rotate upward. But if we close below it, there's no reason to be long this market through April trade 110.12, then the next 3 to 5 week downside objective. And ethanol and RBOB, I'm going to look at this RBOB. This market is pushing significantly through. I mean, I guess crude is doing the same thing, but not significantly. This is a significant intra-week push through. I do want to see this market close below 1.9379 on Friday. We're not far from there at 95.12. It could quite easily do that, but I'm just saying, yeah, I just want to see that happen. Otherwise, it's unleaded gas. It's going to follow crude, but still, it's not a great indication of the market selling off this particular market. I just covered crude oil, didn't I? Didn't I just cover crude? God dang it. Yeah, I did. So let's take a look at May corn. Same thing, below 65 and a quarter, expecting the upper 340s. We talked about this today. That's that long-term support area that you both are willing to buy into if or once we get down there. If we close above 65 and a quarter, then we should reach into the low 380s within a few weeks. And that's an area that can contain buying well into May. In fact, as I've been saying, if they give us the chance, I wouldn't mind selling 383 and change over the next few weeks. Soy meal, soybeans, I'll just show you this briefly. This is similar to live cattle right now. Actually not really. This is three or 4 weeks of trade. That live cattle channel top is just over the last week, but this is 909 and a quarter that if settled above turns us up into later April, the low 940s then expected within a few weeks. Until then, once we test this, the market can quite easily collapse back into the upper 870s, possibly even to 857 and a quarter, which is our big support area. So there's nothing really new here. Soybeans, wheat, we can reacquaint ourselves with this. This is my. If you look at the newsletter, 460 half. It's a very simple channel structure. It's 2 stars. It is a nice downside pivot point into next week, but holding above it, still looking for this long-term speed line at 478 and a quarter. This can contain strength through next week. There is the chance that once we test it, we could slip back into the 430s again within a few weeks. However, closing above it does indicate the 498 and a quarter likely by the end of next week. 498 and a quarter, the start, kind of a wide range of long-term resistance up to 510 and a quarter that I'll show you here on the weekly chart. This is the weekly continuation. I could probably put this on a daily graph if I needed to, but this is really prime resistance here. And we could test this by the end of next week, perhaps, especially if we close the day above that 478 and a quarter level. But in any event, 498 and a quarter to 510 and a quarter, 12-cent range of resistance that can contain buying through spring. And once we test this upper area, the market then vulnerable to slipping back into the low 430s once again within a month or two. On the other hand, closing any week above 510 and a quarter indicates a good high into summer trade. This channel top then at 605 and change then expected within 3 to 5 months or so. So that would be a good, we could quite easily play the short side up here, maybe get tagged a little bit as the market continues up, but then we do have to reverse for what should be a protracted rally into summer trade for that market. So that covers all the newsletters. I'm just going to jump now into CQG itself. I do need to do the spread analysis, and I'm going to do that this summer. I do have time this summer. This weekend. I'm going to do it this weekend. I've been just swamped with end of month billing and just lots of stuff going on. So, but it all kind of clears off my desk here later. Like Saturday, I'll have time, and so I'll give those spreads some look. And I did do some U.S. dollar index analysis. I'll show you that. Let's take a look. I don't know so much about the S&P. We've got the buy signal in effect, but I will show you the NASDAQ that it looked weak in the afternoon, but it came back. It clearly settled above this area. So there's no question that the daily chart has posted a nice buy signal and that this area is anticipated over the next, hard to say, 2 to 3 weeks, 3 to 5 weeks, depends on how the market handles this high. Does it double top for a week or two, or does it push right through? But in any event, this is the buy area. I know there's got to be some in the trading community who aren't going to buy this market until we get above these highs. So this is kind of an early lead, I think, in what should reach into the 81 handle over the coming weeks. If we close back below, say 75.13 and a quarter, which is yesterday's low, if we do that tomorrow, then this market is likely to continue back. And at that point in time, this would be our target and our downside pivot point into later April. But we're not there yet. Right now we're in a sign of strength. So I don't know I know we looked at calls and how to get long, and this is an expensive market, and I don't have any problem staying out of the big markets for the time being. I really don't. I think as our account grows and we get more investors, presumably, then as if we were saying earlier today, we can expand because we'll be able to take that risk. We'll be able to endure it on a risk management perspective. So Canadian dollar, no buy signal, came back. So here's something to look at tomorrow. 74.91 half. I'll just go 74.91. If closed below, should not only yield a retest of this area from a week ago, but I think continue south. On the other hand, if we close above 75.12 to 15, our crude is likely stopped out already as it would be, and this contract should continue higher. So we could look at going long the Canadian with a settlement above 75.15 to be safe. Maybe a new high settlement above 75.27 half. I think that's safer because we've had some testing. God damn it, some testing of this area. And we've even had a settlement above this area by a couple of ticks, only to see it collapse back. So, I'll show you the euro currency. Same old, in the middle of that big range. Japanese yen easing back still. I do need to update the currencies. I recognize that. You got British pound. What did it do? Nothing. Just kind of sitting here. And let's take a look at the US dollar. There it is. All right, so this is the weekly active continuation chart, active weekly continuation chart. And so one thing I can say about this market is that it remains bullish above this 94.74 to 95 area. This is a weekly chart, so it could take a number of weeks to get down here, but the market remains bullish above it. You've got a Fibonacci retracement at 97.83 that the market nearly tested a few weeks ago. If we close above it on a daily basis even, or a weekly basis, we continue higher. And in fact, dare I say the next target would be, several months up into the 101 handle. We do have, bear with me. Okay. We got some tests in here. Upper 90s, 101 area. If we settle above 97.83. Otherwise, buying pullbacks in the upper 94 handle. And that is also our downward pivot point. So if we close below it in the coming weeks, down we go. This is the US dollar index. I showed you gold. Take a quick look at silver. Came back a bit. Testing this area. No weekly settlement yet below this channel structure at 1508 half. We want to see that actually, I think, on Friday to keep bearish sentiment intact for the metals. Copper holding its own. This is our support area, above which this still remains a target. We got a little head fake a week or two ago, but it rejected it, which is a real sign of strength, in my opinion. Platinum continue to move higher. We'll keep an eye on it if we want to talk about this area as a short sale. 30-year. What a pig. All right. Yeah, a failed long-term buy signal is a valid sell signal. This is just kind of a textbook case of that. But no appetite to get back in there right now. 10-year notes. Looks like it's going to test this 123.0410 area. If the 10-year does the same thing on Friday by closing below it, that's another sign of weakness in the treasuries. In other words, a higher rate environment. Did I show you the NASDAQ? I think I did. No, I can't remember. Yes, I did. That was the first thing I talked about. Sugar. Backed off a bit. Nothing to do except until we settle above 13.16 still. Cocoa. Follow through. Follow through on the previous day's buy signal. So this remains an objective. 25.11 for tomorrow. And this is 23.47. Yeah, I get the sense we're not interested in trading this, but we could. It's got a fluid structure to it. There's not a lot of gaps. It's got some nice methodical rotations. It's an attractive market, so we may get acquainted with it over time. But we're in the midst of a 1 to 2 week buy signal right now into the 25 handle. Coffee's going to include cotton. There's cotton, nothing doing, weekly chart. This is our resistance in the upper 79, low 80s. Did I show? No, sorry. I mean, we could take a look at what our next sell signal might be. And it would be this. I don't see that happening between now and Friday, but 74.38, downside settlement. And coffee. I don't know why. Every time I look at it, I'm just kind of like, oh Jesus. Um, bear with me. Look for that damn thing. So coffee, coffee, coffee. I mean, there's so much going on here. I mean, there's a buy signal here. Now let's be safer. It would be here, above 98.19, essentially. But we've got little stuff all the way up, and I don't know, is buying settlement above 98.19? I know we'd make money, but now we're looking for 102 and change. I don't know if it's worth staring at or looking at or considering. Got a trend line, essentially. That's the first line, but it's the channel top that we would want. It's this channel formation that we would want to see a settlement above. And that would be the first buy signal this market has really seen in a couple of months, 2-3 months. But then you've got this, and you've got this. It's like, where do you pull the trigger on something like that? I don't know. Anyway, so that's coffee. 21 minutes. I think that's all I need to say, and we'll talk in the morning.